Manchester City 3, Brentford 1. They close the gap on Liverpool. They go ahead of Arsenal in what is going to be, in my opinion, the most exciting title race that we have witnessed in many, many a year. And Phil Foden, the star of the show, with a sensational hat-trick on the night, an extremely important goal just before the halftime break. But it really was a top-class, relatively comfortable performance from Manchester City. 17 attempts on goal in the first half, 10 of which were on target, which is a record for Man City in top-flight football. They've never had that many shots on goal, never had that many shots on target in the first half. And with 30 seconds to go, they're actually losing. A very good, well-worked goal by Brentford. Cleverly let go by Ivan Toney. Mope goes through, scores the goal, and they look resolute. The goalkeeper, Flecken, is making a lot of great saves. They are, not struggling to break Brentford down, but they're not able to kill the game off. They're not able to get the goals to echo and reflect the sensational performance. Maybe not so much kill the game off, but at least get back into it. And then a very rare mistake from Pinnock. Phil Foden pounces upon it, puts his shot into the bottom corner. And I think everybody saw the writing on the wall from that point. And the second half very much started in a similar fashion. Fantastic ball from KDB. There was Phil Foden in the middle again. A brilliantly timed header into the bottom corner. And then an excellent pass from Erling Haaland to set the young man up for his hat-trick, his second hat-trick as a Manchester City player and as a professional. He got one last year against Manchester United. And remember, he's still only 23 years of age. What a season he is having as an individual. Further proof that, in my opinion, he should have been made the main guy last year. I didn't believe that City needed to spend £100 million on Jack Grealish, even though Jack Grealish is brilliant. Phil Foden is the real deal. If you want to be honest, he's the real star boy. When it comes to, I know Rashford's a little bit older than him, but the Rashford, Foden, Saka, and there's probably other names. I remember Hudson-Odoi's name was in there once upon a time. When it comes to those debates, all of those players are talented in their own rights. But Phil Foden is ahead of all of them. And you can make arguments about the eye test and technical ability. None of them have a half turn as good as him. But the technical ability can be debated. The eye test can be debated. But this man does it year in, year out. He scores and he assists. That's why I put him so far ahead in club terms of a Jack Grealish. Because on ability, again, fairly close. Both high ceilings. But when it comes to the most important part that outputs, Phil Foden is there. You then couple how many important goals, how many important moments he's had in the 5 Premier Leagues that he's won, the Champions League that he's won, the 4 or 5 League Cups, the 2 FA Cups, the fact that he's done it in cup runs, title-winning seasons, Champions League winning seasons, year in, year out, and he's 23 years of age, is an absolute sensation. And I'm consistent when it comes to these conversations because I don't just look at ability. And then what you can do if you just look at ability is you can like players that are a particular type, and then you can disregard everybody else. That's flawed. You look at the ability, you look at the consistency and the output, especially for the attackers. You look at how they deliver en route to winning trophies, and then you look at the trophies. The only element missing is the longevity because he's still only 23 years of age. But that's something for legacy when he retires, as opposed to the right here and right now. He ticks every single box. And look, without him tonight, I don't think City win. And I know that sounds like a very, if you didn't score goals, of course I wouldn't win. I just mean Haaland didn't look at his absolute best. KDB's approach play was good, but he had a few opportunities to score himself and he was a little bit off tonight. Julian Alvarez was a little bit off tonight. And this is why the City team is so dangerous. It's why they're the scariest team in the Premier League, because If Haaland's not on it, KDB is. If KDB isn't on it, Alvarez is. If Alvarez isn't on it, Foden is on it. And the list goes down and down and down and down. So you can have a night where 3 or 4 or 5 of their killers are not performing to the highest level, and they can still beat you. And it's why they're the favourites for me to win the Premier League. It's why I still believe that Liverpool have been fantastic this year. Arsenal demonstrated last night their rightful place in the sort of title contender talk. But Man City are just ahead of both of them. It's as simple and as straightforward as that to me. And Phil Foden is almost epitomizes that, because he isn't the poster boy of City. He isn't their best player, but he's still world class. And they don't have the biggest squad. And some City fans try to gaslight us into, well, we don't have a big squad, so why does everybody say we've got a deep squad? The quality of your team, the quality of your squad is the thickest in the Premier League. Players that sit on your bench would start for 95% of other teams inside the Premier League, especially in those attacking ranks. And just looking at Phil Foden's City career here, just from a numbers point of view, it's 250 games for the club, 74 goals now, and 50 assists. And it's always interesting. He's 23 years of age. Why that is so impressive? That's 125 for goal contributions in 250 games. And the reason that is so impressive is, one, I don't think he's ever really been given a regular enough berth, but I understand why, because of the depth in quality. And that's his 250 first games of his career. If you look at the first 200 games in the career of KDB, the first 200 games of Jack Grealish, the first 200 games of Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, their outputs may not be as high as this young man. They might not be. And I'm guessing with Messi and Ronaldo, but I'm throwing them in there because maybe at 23 they were starting to have those huge seasons, especially Ronaldo. But some players, you look at KDB as a great example. His goal, Mo Salah's an even better example, really. Mo Salah, when he, if you look at him up until the age of 23, I don't think he had 124, 125 goal contributions in his first 250 games. And he certainly wasn't playing at the highest level of European football. He was at Basel. He wasn't here doing it. And I think this young man is still going to get better. I think he's going to score more, especially if he's played on a regular basis, week in, week out, like everybody else. And as I say, maybe Messi and Ronaldo did have those numbers by 23. He turns 24 this year, so I'm probably pushing that one a little bit, if I'm being honest. But it wasn't as though they were scoring and assisting 50, 60 goals a season at 18, 19, 20. It was a little bit later in their careers that they started to do that. In fact, we could probably just look at, it's hard to do with assists, but if we just look at goals, for instance, on Cristiano Ronaldo, I am trying to prove a point here. I'm trying to show you that Foden's ridiculously good. So how old is Ronaldo now? He's 39, about to turn, he's 39 today. So he's 39 today. I didn't know it was his birthday today. So if we go back, how many years would that be now? That'd be 16 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's actually quite, we can look at this. There we go. It actually works out perfect. So he left Man United at Foden's age. And at that point in his career, he played 292 games and he had 118 goals. So he had slightly more goals than Phil Foden does. Well, quite a few more goals than him. I'm not too sure on the assists, but that's in nearly 50 more games. So you got to think Ronaldo is regarded by many as the greatest footballer of all time. Definitely in the top 5, definitely in the top 6. But going back 16 years, he's only, looking at this here, the assists as well, he's only like 20 goal contributions ahead of him, and he was playing week in, week out also. So the point I'm making is Phil Foden for me is nowhere near a Messi or Ronaldo level. I don't think he's ever going to get to the sort of outside the stratosphere where they were. But when you look at his ability and you look at his output, the outputs are phenomenal. Phenomenal for his age, especially for someone that has, I don't want to call him a bit part player, but he'll go through peaks and troughs where he's starting in games. He's absolutely excellent. And I'm not too sure what Lionel Messi would read at that age, but it's they're like the They're not even the barometer. They're not even the median. They're not even the standard. They are above the standard that you normally get compared to. But he's out of this world. He really, really is. Let's have a look at some of your comments. What is Terry waffling about? We're talking about Phil Foden and what he's achieved at 23 years of age. And you're looking at his ability, his goal contributions, his assists, his performances in major title. By the way, for his age, he won more titles than Messi and Ronaldo, which is an important factor. And I'm just sort of looking at the fact that, you know, he had only a handful less goals and assists than Ronaldo at the same age, plus more trophies, plus great ability. I'm just trying to point out how good this young man is. When you look at the two greatest to ever do it at the same age, this man is on par in certain areas. Now, I don't think his ability and his ceiling is anywhere near as high as them. I don't believe that. But it just shows how good he is. And I don't think Phil Foden gets enough credit for how good he is. And as we say, this is a live stream. This isn't pre-recorded. And I'm talking to you all. This is a conversation. That's what it's all about. Let's look at some of your comments here. He is nowhere near Ronaldo and Messi, though, even though I don't like them. That isn't the point that was being made, is it? That's the point. Is they are clear of everybody. But look at his trophies, look at his ability, look at his numbers. And people that say numbers aren't important, they're liars. They're absolute liars, especially for attackers. Your numbers are hugely important. I could have achieved that if I played for 115 and I smoke all day. You couldn't achieve it. You really couldn't. Flawed logic. Foden started out in a better team, more complete team, so he had assistance. This Terry is weird. It's a really good challenge, though. I like that challenge, but I'm going to counter it. Okay, I'm going to counter it by saying that being in a team that's much better meant that at a younger age, under the standards of Pep Guardiola, Phil Foden had to be at a level that you could argue other greats were not at 18 years old. Were not at. And look, I'm a massive fan of Ronaldo, but when he came to Man United, it took him a good 2 to 3 years until he started putting in consistent performances. And we were one of the best teams in England and one of the best teams in Europe in that time period. It wasn't really until sort of 05, more 06 really, that Ronaldo really started to flourish. So I get your logic. I don't think it's flawed, though. Foden still had to be good enough, because if he was at a much lower standard at 18, he would never have gone into the first team squad as regularly as he did for Manchester City. The standards are too high. So yes, it's listed. As I say, I think it's a good challenge, but I think it demonstrates how good this young man is. Most were tap-ins. Look at Pedro's goal at Barcelona or Sterling's. Tap it. I don't understand what you mean. A goal's a goal. If tap-ins were easy, all forwards would have loads more goals, wouldn't they? But they're not. No countering with your wasted words to confuse people. He's waffling so bad. But everybody knows that when people challenge your argument with the word waffle, what they mean is, I don't want to agree with you, or I don't agree with you, but I don't know how to debunk you. So what I'm going to say is just call you names or say you're chatting nonsense. That's not an argument. Even if you don't agree with me, I win the debate because you don't have an answer. That's how debating works. It's not about what everybody believes. It's about who makes the best points and who can continue to argue, essentially. So, yes, listen, as I say, you make a good point. But Phil Foden had to be good enough to get into a Pep Guardiola team at 18 years of age. Yes, he's helped by being surrounded by higher quality. But if he wasn't of that quality, he wouldn't have been in that team. Now your job, Diego, is to counter that argument. Saying waffle is what a child would do. Maybe you are a child. Maybe you are a baby. I don't know how old you are. Now, I won't ignore the chat. The chat's part of what we do here. If you don't talk to the chat, then what's the point of doing a live stream? Hamza's here with me now. Hamza, a very, very comfortable performance for you tonight. What did you make of what your City boys did?
I think absolutely outstanding performance by Man City. People have said beginning of the season there were two stadiums that we can't go and win. It was Spurs and Brentford, and people said that they're a team that we had a boogie team, but we went there initially, and to be behind, which with Route 1 football, and to come back from behind, it's just amazing. And they've done it they've done it against Luton, they've done it against Everton, and Foden's carrying this team like Foden is the guy now. We're starting to see the boy that you all doubted. Now you're starting to see the boy. The boy is a man now. A guy who's elevated. He's winning games by himself. He won how many games? This guy's winning games with amazing goals, not little tap-ins. And I was so impressed with the performance by Man City. First, we had Brentford were very disappointing. To me, 100%. I'll tell you one thing about you, Terry. I'm just disappointed that every style that they had, they were just hoofing the ball for 90 minutes, yeah? And I'm thinking, do really Brentford fans pay £1,000 probably to go on with this kind of game? I will never, I swear to God. I will never pay £1,000 or something. Season ticket. All they were doing, Route 1 style. Route 1. They caught us the first time. But it was all over. Same thing over and over again. And I was thinking, this is the Brentford that was different last season. But today, to come up from that result with Brentford, who tried to play physical, we showed why Man City should be respected. We are absolutely a class above everyone else. When you doubt them, this is what they show. These are star. These are absolutely star boys. I was really impressed. And big up to Phil Foden, who I hope that the people that are comparing him to Saka and this, bro, there's no debate anymore. Now we see why this is great. It's true, Terry. It's true. You agree with that? He's a star boy. He's a real star now.
Listen, I've said for years, Foden for me in that conversation that included Saka and Hudson-Odoi and Foden and Rashford, all these players, I've always put Foden ahead of them all. And a lot of that has been down to the trophy he's won and his integral role in helping City win them. And the reason that I do that is because that's the reason why I hold the Ryan Giggses and the Paul Scholeses of this world in high regard. The consistency, the outputs, how pivotal they were to winning trophies, how they performed in title runs. I can't hold that train of thought for my legends. And then when it comes to a Foden versus Saka or a Foden versus Rashford conversation, I can't then discount those very same standards. So of course I have to hold Foden in that high regard. You know, he's got the ability, he's got the consistent. And we were just looking at numbers, and I actually just went and working out like he doesn't quite have as many goals as Messi and Ronaldo did at his age. They were ahead of him by between 30 and 40 goals apiece. But the point I'm making is that most players that you look at now that are killing it, 27, 28, 29, 30, if you go back to their first 4 or 5 years of their career, they weren't knocking out 120 to 130 goal contributions in their first 250 games of their career. They weren't doing that. The two greatest footballers of all time are ahead of him. That's because, listen, Foden's great. He's never going to be Messi. He's never going to be Ronaldo. But the fact is, compare him to Salah, you compare him to a lot of these. Eden Hazard weren't doing that at that stage of his career, but that consistency. And these players are amazing. I'm not slagging these players off. It shows how good Phil Foden is, but he's also done it in multiple title contending seasons, multiple domestic trophies, in Champions League runs. He's legit. He is the star boy. I agree.
And you can see the way that he's so confident that he's carrying Man City. People are saying KDB, he's having that performance that Kevin De Bruyne had, like in terms of carrying City, or Gundogan carrying City when we didn't have anyone. Gundogan was injured, Kevin De Bruyne was injured, and he's played every single minute. The funny thing is, he does not even take penalties. His goals are class. You can see the ball control. He's matured this year, and this year you have to say that the performance I'm feeling from Phil Foden is absolutely a performance of a man. Like, this is a performance I see from Bellingham, Musialas, the Pedris, the elite footballers, elite youngsters. They're on their own bracket, like the Pedri, the Musiala, the Bellingham, and the Foden. Those 4 names, and probably Gavi, they sit on their own table. There's no doubt. And Foden shows why he's respected internationally. You speak to Madrid fans, you speak to Barca fans, they say, oh, the best English talent is Bellingham and Foden. They don't bring anyone else. And today, I think the performance showed maturity. We've always gone down against Brentford. We'll lose this game. But to come back from behind, which is quite frustrating against Luton, against Everton, and now against Thing. It shows that Man City have got this, we're not giving up anymore. And I think you have to give credit to the key thing for us is to take it from there, because Liverpool have dropped points. They're absolutely a threat. I respect Liverpool so much because they are absolutely an amazing team, no doubt about it. We have to make sure we sit down and put pressure on Liverpool. The next February is all must win. We must win February. It is a must win. March then becomes war, because all the fixtures I've seen in March, it becomes crazy. So City have to continue from this and not drop points like they did to Crystal Palace and the Tottenham. You know, those kind of games, Terry. We can't take those kind of points. Against Everton, you can't take them lightly. They can come to Etihad and win. So we have to win those games. And let's see what Man City is made of. I think this today has sent a message to Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans that we're not here to be messed around. And this season, we're going to give you a run of your money, although we have lost a lot of our players.
Listen, I think you guys have got you're the favourites. There's no doubt about it. I think that you had to go and win tonight because there was such a buzz, such a buzz and such a noise after Arsenal's win yesterday. You guys couldn't afford to drop points today because I think, again, that would cement even more confidence. You wanted to send that shot and say, listen, well done yesterday. I know you're growing in confidence, but Man City here, Man City are doing what they're doing. I want to run these numbers out to everybody again as well, because I've just done Messi's numbers. The person that I consider, and I think everybody here considers to be the greatest football player of all time, definitely of this generation. So at the similar age to Phil Foden. So when he played his first 200, I think it was 253 games, he had 55 assists. Foden's on 50, and he had 127 goals. So he's actually like nearly 60 goals ahead of Foden. That's the greatest of all time. Okay, it shows how good Foden is still, that they've got a similar amount of assists and still 70 goals. And I'm just saying to people, the numbers this kid has put up at 23, coupled with every other element of him, is phenomenal. You know, and I'm only comparing the output against Messi to show people that the greatest of all time at 23 was not light years ahead of him in every single area from an output point of view. It just shows how good it is. And I think that it's the one thing about the Messis and the Ronaldos, when it comes to the output numbers, they've kind of broken the barometer, because somebody could have 200, 50% assists and goal scoring rate in their first 250 games of their career. And people think, well, Messi and Ronaldo are at 80, 90% in their whole career. Therefore, it's not very good. But it's at the age he's at is crazy. Who says he's 20? He's not 25. He's 23. I swear he's 23. 23, not 25. Yeah.
And you know who he reminds me this season of? I'll tell you, he reminds me of Ilkay Gundogan. Like, he gets into the box at the right time. He knows to anticipate. And that, I don't know whether he's learned that. You must have learned that from Gundogan, the maturity. Look at the first goal. He already anticipates the ball's going to come up from him, and he's there. He scores a good, and he scores. He's very composed. He scored that very brilliant goal. Second goal, he anticipates KDB is going to whip that cross. He gets in. He headers. The third goal, the same, 1-2. He get similar. He's playing like I've been telling you, City fan, he's playing like Gundogan, coming from the midfield and then going as an attack. And that's what I'll respect, because Gundogan did it his last 2-3 years. He's doing at the age of 23. He's only going to get better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And someone who says Terry is obsessed with stats and Messi ain't even the best Argentinian. And that's fair. That's fair, the last statement. But I'm not obsessed with stats. I've quite clearly, in an articulate way, explained about ability, about delivery in trophy-winning seasons, delivering in the clutch moments. I've just used the statistical outputs of an attacker to demonstrate that's an important part. The output is an important part. And I'm just putting him up against the best ever at the same age to see how it compares. And he's not a million miles away from the greatest of all time in many people's eyes. So that's why. So yes, at no point did I say it's all about stats. Please don't misrepresent my points. Now, I wanted to ask you quickly about the other competition. You mentioned Liverpool already. A big result yesterday for Arsenal, Hamza. Did it change your perception of them? Did it change your perception of the title race at all this year?
I predicted that scoreline exactly, Terry, because I just knew that Arsenal had that after the last loss, the fans were ready for this. It was like a big game for them. And big credit to Arsenal, like literally credit to Arsenal. They turned it around and they beat Liverpool 3-1. And they had a better XG than Liverpool. They were way better than Liverpool. But not to say Liverpool missing Mo Salah, who's absurd. He elevates, he's world class. He elevates Liverpool. So to me, that is the scoreline I wanted. Because I see Liverpool as more of a major threat than Arsenal for 3 reasons. One, their manager's got experience. He knows how to win games. He knows how to win the league. Manager Klopp is exceptional. Second is the pressure they put him on is his last season. So it's on their favor to deliver this league. But also on the other side, that it could have been, he probably announced it too early. Because if they don't win the league, people will look back to this and say, Fergie announced it on 7th of May when he's about to leave, when he knew he was going to leave. But he announced it in January. So he's probably put his players under pressure. So his players, I believe, the third thing I was going to say, that the reason why I believe they've got the edge over Arsenal is they're playing Europa League. I've been telling people for years. When I saw them entering Europa League, I just knew, oh my God, because the competition is different. You know that, Terry. If you look at all the teams, or probably only Bayer Leverkusen is left there. Liverpool can win Europa League. They've got the heritage of Europe. They're not scared of anyone there. They can even rest their major players in the Europa League if they get through. But we and Arsenal, we have to go and probably face Porto. After that, probably Madrid, Inter. The big teams are left. But Europa League, not much big teams are left. So that gives them a leeway of trying to be a bit favourites than us. But City, the key thing for us is we must keep all our players fit by March. We have to do what we used to do, rotate. Make sure Stones doesn't get injured, Rodri doesn't get injured. He's 2 or 3 red yellow cards away from being suspended from 2 games. And you know what? I'm already looking today. I beg you could have got a yellow card there. And, I'm not saying do a Sergio Ramos, those dirty 3, and miss the Luton game. Because I've looked at the Arsenal and Liverpool waiting. I don't want it.
Sometimes you've got to do these things, though, Hamza. You do. There's some super chats here. First one says Saka better than Foden. They said, yeah, is what low key has got to say. Doc and Coffee. I says Terry, watch the next Men in Blazers. You'll end up with more ball knowledge. It's Joel. Okay, Embiid. You've heard it here first. I'll give it a go. By the way, I was only messing around with basketball there because I try and wind up Igal. That's all it was. Is I like slagging off things that Igal likes because sometimes it triggers him. I've got no issue with basketball. Foden waited for his chance and broke into the team whilst producing their output. He deserves his starts, and he's arguably City's best player this season. Brilliant super chat. Jerome here says, Hamza, do you believe Man City will be able to do the four-peat this season, or is it too much to ask?
I think March is the month, and they must try and edge Liverpool to that. Because I believe if we keep in touch with Liverpool towards April, because they're playing West Ham away and Villa away, I believe we win the league. So if we're able to get a point at Liverpool and beat Arsenal, I think we can win the league. Yeah, it's a possibility.
Absolutely. And just for the record again for people, I wasn't comparing Phil Foden to Messi or Ronaldo to suggest that they are close to each other in terms of what they've achieved versus him. I'm pointing out that the numbers, so we know how good his ability is. We know what bracket he's in for ability. We know what he has done in title runs and everything else. I'm simply stating that his numbers for a 23-year-old are phenomenal. And that element of his career, I am putting those numbers up against if you put those numbers up against other players of similar abilities and levels, and also put those numbers up against some of the greatest of all time, you'll see how good they are. And it can't be ignored. Who has won the league and Europe in the same year? Hamza, your logic doesn't make sense. It's hard to win Europa and the league together.
Yeah, no, it's possibility. There's a possibility. The thing is, a lot of teams that used to play Europa were not as strong as Liverpool. This time, the strongest team in the league, probably Liverpool, Man City. Liverpool's playing Europa League. So everyone believes Liverpool can still win the league. So you don't play with that with Liverpool. I think they can win the league.
Mate, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they can still win the league. I'm absolutely sure they can. They can do both, but it's hard to do. Look, Hamza, I want to thank you very much for coming on, mate, and having your say. Viewers as well, I absolutely respect every single one of you, even the trolls calling us out, but that's all part and parcel of what we do. We're back tomorrow with more content for you, including Straight Facts with LB and Dan Potts in the afternoon. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Peace.